Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another Q&A. Now my last Q&As went over really well. You guys seem to really like them. They were a little bit controversial, which today's is definitely going to be that too. But if you saw my last day in my life, I actually made a mention of this when I was showing Logan's nursery. So if you want to see more of Logan's nursery, you can go ahead and check that out. And I made a comment in that video saying that I feel like everything is controversial now. So even though I get a little nervous to talk about some of these things, I just think that no matter what side of things you take in life, someone's gonna be annoyed. So I'm just gonna share today. I'm gonna do the best I can to share like my real heart and be really honest with you guys. I will say though, something that I've had to just like accept and get over is that even if you do a great job of sharing exactly what you mean in your heart, oh my hair, man, hi. People like aren't always gonna like it, or they're not always even gonna hear you. I actually made a reference in one of my last videos specifically. I love how this is the first thing my brain goes to, but talking about vaccinations, and people kind of majorly misunderstood me. I mean, not fully, they weren't fully off, but like I made a joke in there that was taken pretty seriously. And so it's just gonna be really interesting, but I wanna be, like I said, honest. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop blabbering with this intro and start answering questions. So you guys submitted these questions on Instagram, just, in case you were wondering. And I'm gonna go ahead and just start answering them in no particular order, just like I screenshotted these questions. Okay, so the first question is kind of tied in with the second question, which my friend Kate asked. So this person said, Simply Holistic Living, top tips for first-time moms. I'm 10 weeks today and there's so much info. And then my friend Kate, Mrs. Midwest, asked, what is the one piece of advice she would give to first-time moms? Because she is pregnant and I'm so excited for her. So I'm gonna lump those two in together for this first question. My piece of advice is so lame and typical, but so true. And that is follow your gut. I think that people are very complex. I think the fact that we've never, figured out a cure for the common cold in and of itself says that life is very complex. People are very complex. I think there is something to having a feeling when you're a mom as to what is right for your baby, because I don't think that the same thing is right for everyone. I think it's good to take a lay of the land and kind of like see what's out there, hear the reasons why, the safety protocols of things, the health perspectives. I think that the official term for that is like informed consent, like being aware of what is going on, what kind of information you can consume about your baby, but then just following your gut. I mean, some people would even say like the research, like, you have mommy intuition. And I don't want to throw that out because you guys know I really enjoy researching. And part of my enjoyment is also the belief in that I think it's important. But that being said, you can research something to death and, still not be sure how to apply it, or get frozen and not be sure what to do. So I just want to encourage you, if you're a first-time mom, follow your gut. Everybody told me that when you have a baby, like that feeling of, first off, unconditional love was going to pop in, which I was like, is that really going to pop in? Like, what if I don't like my baby? And I just have to chime in and say, like, most likely you will be like most women who have babies, and you will have that automatic, like, knowing and connection and draw to your baby. And it really is crazy. And so I just want to encourage trusting that. Also, I want to encourage just like low stress. So specifically talking about like the milk production thing, making milk, or doing formula or pumping or breastfeeding or whatever, it can be stressful and it's serious. So it's something you want to take seriously and think about, how you're going to care for your baby in that way. But at the same time, have some grace on yourself. It's really hard. To be, selfish and bring it back to myself, I'm doing like everything I can to make enough milk for my baby. And there's a whole lot. I'm going to end up doing another breastfeeding update at some point because we're kind of going through this whole transition right now where he actually might start breastfeeding sometimes again, because he has literally been trying to reach for my boob. So that's a whole separate thing, but not really. Keeping in mind that it's a journey, be kind of graceful and I don't want to say easy on yourself, but there has to be that element in there of like, of understanding that you are just a person trying your best. And you know, one day at a time, just keep swimming. That's another piece of advice. Just keep swimming. So that was a lot. I'm going to move on to the next question. Okay, so here are two more questions I'm kind of lumping together. First one says, how do you keep positive on bad pain days and remind yourself that it's not the end of the world? And then the other question said, how do you conserve your energy while living with chronic pain? So they're kind of two separate questions, kind of the same. First off, something that tends to happen in my life is I have this pattern often, and I've tried to break myself of it, and living this lifestyle has definitely helped. This lifestyle meaning like a home-focused, more peaceful, you could say slow living type of lifestyle that's centered on, you know, life, like my baby and plants and all of that. Cooking, I guess, is the opposite of life, but it is life, but you get what I mean. So I was literally thinking about it from like a raw food perspective for a minute. But anyways, wow, backing up. I tend to have good periods of time and then I have bad periods of time. And I'm just getting off of a flare up right now. I think you guys know that. And so I find myself wanting to really take advantage of the times where I feel good. Now in the past, I have maybe overdone it. Like when I feel good, I go like all out because I'm just like, I feel good. I got to catch up on all the like downtime that I had or all of the, sick time or whatever. And I'm trying to not do that. As I took a sip of my tea, hold on. I'm trying not to do that to the extreme because I think sometimes that's how you beat yourself back down into another health issue or like a flare up. But at the same time, there kind of is an element of like, I like doing that. Once I feel better, I like kind of pulling things back together. So part of it, I guess part of the answer to your question is I don't really deal with it. I just kind of like take it as it comes. And every day is different. So I have to have and maintain a certain level, once again, of grace with myself, of knowing when I wake up, as much as I am the kind of person that keeps like, multiple to-do lists on my phone and I like to organize things out, I have to simultaneously live my life with an open hand of like whatever God has for me today. Because sometimes I don't know. There have been so many times in the last year and a half particularly where I've woken up and my neck is frozen. Like I can't really even breathe very well without pain. And so like those days, yeah, my plans go out the window. So there has to be an element for me in my life of flexibility. And I think that, that's really hard when you are in school or working a job outside of the home because, something that I was raised with to believe was that like nobody really cares what you're going through. And I think that there's a half truth to that, right? Like business is business, you got to keep going. But then also I think there's this element of like, well, that's really sad. And I think that like, I don't know, I think that's part of the reason it's worth finding, if possible, if you're someone that deals with chronic pain or something of that nature, I think it's a good thing to try to figure out how you can create more flexibility within the timing of your schedule. Because I work, but I plug things in where it makes sense in my life. And I kind of ebb and flow with my workflow to try to accommodate, whatever state my body is in, because I just don't know sometimes. So those are kind of my answers. I mean, the days where, I'm not doing so hot, it's like I try to shift what type of projects or work or hobbies that I might want to get done that don't involve me, being on my feet a bunch. I try to make sure that I'm doing, like, there's that saying, self-care is the new healthcare. Like, how can I take care of my health, not only all of the time, because all of that kind of, affects the other days and weeks and whatever, but when I'm having a flare up, how can I care for myself versus just like push through? And that's always kind of a balance, right? Because it's like, I never feel 100% okay. I'm never 100% out of pain. So there's always this like scale of like kind of touching base with myself. And it's like, okay, how good do you feel today? Because then there's also this mental aspect. Like a few days ago when I started feeling better, better than I was the last few weeks, but like I said, I'm never feeling 100% better, at least not at this point in my life. And I told my mom, like, I had to go do Logan's nap routine. It was physically painful and uncomfortable because my wrists are hurting and my back is hurting, or it really was that day. But it mentally I felt so much better. And so there's also this balance in life of like serving and caring for your body, but also knowing like the mind has power. And so sometimes it's like, okay, which things do I push past physically to get that mental gratification of like feeling good and like accomplished and happy with something, because that in turn actually can affect the physiology of your body. So it's this weird, just getting in tune with yourself, being open to experimenting, reminding yourself that every day is just one day at a time. That's it. You don't know. You like literally you could die tomorrow or you could live another 70 years. And what I mean by that is that you want to take care of yourself while you're here, but you want to try to avoid going into full, like, I don't know how to word this. I feel like I'm drifting off in oblivion. I was going to say drama mode of like not letting yourself fall into that place of like everything is falling apart, I'm doomed forever, because you really don't know. And that's pretending to be like this negative psychic, like you know what's going to happen. You don't know. You don't know what kind of medical advancements are going to take place. You don't know if you're going to die over the weekend. You don't know if you're going to suddenly find out you're allergic to a certain food that's then going to turn around and heal you. You don't, like, literally the list is endless. So, whoa, I got to keep going or this is going to be forever. But that's that. Sorry, I ended that really abruptly, but I think you get my gist. I hope you get my gist. I get a little paranoid in these Q&As because I'm just like, I'll just literally talk and talk and talk and talk on one question. I'm not going to get any questions answered. So next question. How has your cloth diaper routine changed now that Logan is eating solids? So I've mentioned this before. Dan changes, I'd say 90% of Logan's diapers because Dan is home at this point very often. And the way that it's changed is we installed a spray pal, which is basically just like a bidet, like cord thing. So I have a bidet in our bathroom, but it's like a real nice bidet, like that is hooked, like installed in the toilet seat. We got one of those kinds that's just like, it's literally like a cord that has a spray nozzle attached. And what we do is we go in and we dump whatever's on the friggin' whatchamacallit diaper into the toilet, and then we spray the rest off. So we try to get as much off into the toilet as possible before it goes back into the wet bag to then get washed in the washing machine. Nothing has changed other than that, other than the fact that we have the goal to get as much of the poop off into the toilet with the spray pal as possible. His poop is still not like adult poop, but he is pooping now. So I'll give you guys more updates as we go, but that's kind of the sitch right now. Okay, so this question, how do you handle other people not liking you in real life, not internet trolls? By the way, I love seeing questions from those of you that like I see all the time, like your avatars on the internet. Anyways, so I don't know, man. I mean, I was literally, this is weird, but I was just talking to my chiropractor about this the other day. People have like, I mean, everybody has this, right, to some degree, but people have like not liked me my whole life. Like, part of my earliest memories of school, which I'm about to do a video on my homeschool story because it is like layered and complex as to all of the reasons why I was so happy to be homeschooled. This is literally just one facet of that, and that was the fact that I was around all these people that I couldn't choose who I was around, and so many of them did not like me and made it known that they didn't like me. And so I had a lot of experiences like that growing up. And what I was telling my chiropractor is it's actually really weird that I'm like pseudo internet famous now for like a lot of the reasons that I feel like people didn't like me growing up, or things that I was made fun of for, or literally got in trouble for. So it's really weird. To be honest, there isn't really a way that I deal with it. I just usually process the emotions if something happens, and I try not to keep those people in my life. Like, I don't go to a job, as you guys know. I don't have really many places. I have a few, but not many places in my life where it's like I go here and I'm always around the same group of people that maybe I don't want to be around, or like it's like I can usually remove myself from a situation if I'm like, this is not good. This person doesn't like me. I don't like being here. Like, let's switch things up. I don't have a lot of places where I'm forced. You know, and a lot of people, I remember growing up, a lot of people would say that that was bad, like specifically with schooling. I don't agree with that for like a lot of reasons. But that's, yeah, I don't really deal with it. I cry it out, I process. I mean, guys, I have had severe bullying stories that I'm like, do I want to tell them more? Have I told them on the internet? I don't remember. Like, things that sound like movies. And the way that I've always dealt with it is I've just cried it out. I've gone to the people that I love, my family, my close friends, and I process with them, and then I let it go. Like, what's that saying? Like, you could be the sweetest peach in the world and someone's still not gonna like peaches. So it's just a reality that I think so many of us don't want to believe or live in because it's uncomfortable, right? But I think it just is what it is. So that wasn't a helpful answer, but that's my answer. Okay, next question. 1, 5, and 10-year plan. How do you work towards goals? All right, guys. I am not a big believer in plans fully because it's actually a thing that I said on Twitter a while ago that I ended up pinning. God's plans are always better than mine. And what I mean by that is I make plans, but I leave my hands open. And so I kind of feel, both of us do, Dan and I kind of feel lame even saying them because it's like, dude, like I said, I could die this weekend and I don't know what God has for me. Dude, does my hair seem crazy today? Because it's a little crazy today. Yeah, I don't know what God has for me. That being said, I don't think that we should just wander through life like, whatever. So I do have tentative plans-ish. I don't know if I'd call them 1, 5, and 10, but I'm going to give you a little bit of like a little scenario. We would like to move maybe within the next year. I'm not going to say, whoop, was that a mosquito? No, okay, good. I'm not going to say where. I don't even know if I'm going to say where we're moving until and if we move. I kind of just want to take it one day, 1 week, 1 month at a time. But my family is in the process of moving. So in the next year, I think we'd like to be moved. If not the next year, then the next 5 years. The other thing is, in the next year, I think I'd like to be pregnant again. I just want to keep this baby bandwagon like on a roll, or I want to keep this show on the road because we're not sure how many babies we want to have. And I am 33, which I just had to think about that. I thought I was 32. I'm actually 33. And so my fertility is part of that equation. And we don't really have the luxury because of that. If you're just taking age into account, if that affects, my situation, which eventually it affects everyone's at some point. But if you're just taking that into account, we don't have the luxury of just like hanging out for a few years and seeing. And that's fine because we actually think we want our kids to be very close in. Like we want to just pile them up if possible. So, and 10 years, I would really like to be done and have all of my babies in 10 years. And I'm going to end there because I actually think what I was going to keep saying, people actually asked these questions. So yeah. Okay. Thoughts on birth control. All right. Here's the deal. I used to not really have any kind of moral standpoint on birth control. Let me just say, this is kind of like the vaccine thing. I kind of still don't. Like I kind of get it. It's like, okay, people want to, have control over their fertility or at least some semblance of control. But as time has gone on, yeah, I don't love birth control. I know some people really they feel helped from birth control. So whether it's hormonal issues, severe acne, painful periods, I know a lot of people have seen like miraculous things from birth control. That being said, I know way more people who have had bad outcomes from birth control. It's kind of weird. It's kind of like the motorcycle thing. Like, why do I know multiple people that have died on motorcycles? Now, that being said, let me just preface all this. Please don't be mad at me if you're on birth control. I just have to say, I feel the same way. I don't like that I'm on Lexapro. Like, not the exact same way, they're different medications, but I would sit here and give reasons why I don't think that those medications are often great. But I also know a lot of people, myself included the last few years, have been really helped by the medication. But I don't want to be on it, and I'm actually in the process of slowly weaning to see if I can live my life without it, because as a generalization, which would not surprise you guys, I would imagine, I think that the closer that we can adjust and heal our body using natural remedies, using our diet, using our sleep, our exercise, all kinds of weird things, right? Like even grounding, like things that I don't even think we understand in science and medicine yet. I think that those are great things to do. Here's the other thing. I think that something has happened within the last 100 years within our soil within our, the medical industry, within the whole concept and desire of trying to control fertility, of choosing to put off having a baby till a certain point, then deciding you want a baby at this point, but maybe you've waited too long for nature. Maybe our bodies how do I even word this? I feel like I get very nervous to word this because I've said this before. I'm one of those people that's very opinionated, but I also maintain an open mind in the sense that I'm just like, well, I mean, you're asking my perspective, but I don't know that my perspective is right. You know what I mean? So anyways, backing up, what I was going to say is I think that there is something to the amount that we have messed with the human body over recent years, particularly the reproductive system, and the amount of infertility that we have in our society. And you might be mad because I'm not giving you guys a book report or like linking all of my sources down below, but that's honestly what I believe. I think there's something to that. I think there's something to the amount of plastics in our household, the extensive use of formula, the ever-growing list of vaccinations that kids have been put on, the go hustle culture, the size at which cities have grown, dude, cell phone towers, electricity, like cleaning products. I think that we are so like overloaded with stuff in such a short period of time and we don't even necessarily understand maybe the unintended consequences. It's become my new favorite phrase of scientific and medical supposed advancements. And in some ways, they might be advancements, or at least in the short term, but they also might have some of those unintended consequences. And so my point of that whole thing is to say that I actually do believe that birth control comes with unintended consequences. And so in general, like I'm not a doctor, I'm not your doctor, I'm not giving you medical advice, but if you're asking my opinion, I don't think it's good. I went on 3 different types of birth control when we first got married, because I guess at the time there were 3 different types of like, oh, dude, that was like 12, 13 years ago, so I don't remember the details, but at the time there were like 3 different kinds of hormonal, I don't even know, like ways that they tried to regulate the birth control. I'm not wording this at all, but I just remember my doctor was like, there's 3 different types we can try. Tried all of them. It was horrible. I was the most depressed I've ever been in my life. Honestly, I didn't look bad. My skin was really clear, which was a lot for me back then because I was breaking out so much. But I think it's something that if you are on birth control, I would spend some time thinking about it. If you're considering getting on birth control, I would really spend some time considering not. Now, I realize I didn't address any of the family planning aspect of it. But you guys already know me so well. It's like you ask me my thoughts on something, who knows which way I'm gonna go, and like how do I even answer all of the thoughts surrounding it. So I'm sorry if you're mad that I didn't tap on one specific aspect. Like the one that I'm thinking about is specifically like family planning. But that's a whole separate tangent that I almost don't even think I want to go down right now because I don't think it necessarily matters considering I have like a bunch of other questions. But that was just kind of like my initial thoughts around birth control. This one's funny. I'm interested in the benefits of Logan being naked. I've tried to research this on my own, no luck. Okay, is everybody ready? This is a combination of a few things. 1, Logan belongs to the laziest family ever. That's true, actually. That's probably top thing. Second thing is, Logan has been living in a pretty warm situation. Like when Logan was first born, he was a newborn. He was tiny. We didn't have him in clothes because I've heard a lot of people say that baby clothes can potentially not be the greatest for their development, depending on like obviously what the weather is like and the temperature, because it can be restrictive. And so they were saying like, yeah, if you just want to keep them like with less layers on, they can move better. I don't even know. This really all caters to my laziness. And then also in the beginning, when he wasn't moving, like he was a newborn wrapped up in a blanket often or skin to skin with us. The joke in my family is literally that I keep my house like warm at all times. I don't keep it like hot, but we were not like letting our baby, we're not like letting our baby hang out when it's cold, like naked. We're very cognizant, like, would I be bothered right now if I didn't have clothes on? And sometimes people might look and be like, well, you do have clothes on and he doesn't. But sometimes that's literally just because it's like you saw him in the 10-minute window right after he woke up and then we put him in clothes. Or like, I don't know, I just put on clothes because I'm an adult, but really it's like warm enough. I'd be just fine standing around in a diaper and I'm comfortable with it. We just kind of take it as it comes. I mean, he has clothes. He wears clothes. It's just often, especially because he's about to grow out of this phase, it's like, dude, you just pooped your pants. It's, you know, maybe 70, 80 degrees outside. You're drooling everywhere. You're going to be going down for a nap in a little bit. Let's just play and hang out in your diaper for a little bit. Like, it's just, I don't know. A lot of our parenting stuff is this weird combo of like, we're very paranoid about some things and other things we're just like, you know. I mean, like, he's 9 months and he barely has a nursery now. Like, I was not one of those moms that had like everything prepared before he got here. I was just like, I just got to give birth. Okay, so my friend just called me on the phone, so this stopped recording. So hopefully I remember where we left off. I was gonna say, so it's 50% laziness and 50% stuff I had actually heard about, like baby clothes being restrictive and our weather and all of that. But yeah. Okay, so this says, how did you get over the fear of having your baby? Dude, I don't know. I just got over it. So I was always living with two emotions at once. I was afraid all the way to the very end. I'm afraid for the next one. Like, I just got to be honest. My therapist has this saying that emotions come in sets of 3. So I am not someone who is thrown off by experiencing lots of feelings. I now recognize that that's normal. It's the same reason I think a lot of people get scared on their wedding day. It's like, you're excited, but you're also scared. It's like the same thing. So, yeah, I didn't. One of the things I did to combat it, like to help with all of that, was I listened to a lot of positive birth stories, specifically home birth stories, because as you guys know, I birthed at home, and I honestly just wanted to hear all of the times that it had turned out well for all of these women. And I'm telling you, if you listen to enough positive birth stories, you do start to become convinced. You're like, I can do this. Like, I'm literally, my body is made to do this. And so for me, that's actually the number one way that I would soothe my fears, was by seeing other women and hearing from other women who had birth turn out really well for them. So that's the answer. Okay, next question. I'm laughing, it's not funny, but it kind of is funny, but it's not. Thoughts on masks. So I almost wanted to make a whole video about this, and then I decided not to, because when I put out these questions, someone asked this question and I was like, oh good, this is the perfect place to slip it in. And this is the tangent that might make people real mad, because I've gotten some questions or some comments from people, like specifically my day in my life where I was getting my hair done and I wasn't wearing a mask. And how do I word this? Similar to the vaccine thing, guys. It's not that I'm anti-mask. It's not that I'm like, nobody should be wearing masks. It's that, you know, I had this realization maybe like a month ago. I was talking to my mom. Well, I was talking to quite a few people about this. I was like, the mental health aspect of this mask situation is not going to be good. Like, I was saying that to a lot of people around me. I was like, what about all of the deaf people that can't read lips now? Like, what about just like, I don't even know, man. The mental health thing. Anyways, point being, I was saying that to everyone. And then I had this realization like a month ago. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm talking about everyone else's mental health during this. And it was like the light bulb went off that I was projecting, and it's my mental health that is not loving this mask thing. I have hardly gone anywhere since the start of all of this, because I don't love wearing a mask. And I don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. It's like not a fun thing for me. Like, some people I know really enjoy being contrarian, I guess you would say, or they're just like, whatever. That's not how I feel. It's not fun to me. So I don't really go many places because of that. And that sucks. That's, it makes me sad. I mean, here's the thing. My real thoughts on masks are that I'm really sad by it. I'm really sad that it has become a divisive thing amongst people, like even from the health aspect. And people will argue me on this, and that's fine. I think that science and the medical system in general has a long track record of speaking from a place of authority and assuredness at the moment that they're in, while disregarding the past mistakes that they've made as a system. And then making anyone who has a problem with the current implemented strategies of whatever, making them feel like they're crazy or like they are science doubters, not saying, oh, maybe these people are questioning because we have a long history of changing our mind drastically, or because there are other professionals in the field who have come together, looked at each other, and agreed on a different perspective. And so it makes me sad, not only from that side of things, from the health perspective, but let's just say that masks are totally effective and that they completely help spread or help slow the spread. Let's just say that. That aside, it still makes me sad. So just talking about my emotions, I guess, really quick, it makes me sad that my baby will go out and most of the time doesn't see full faces. It makes me sad that, Logan's 9 months old and he hasn't met Dan's parents yet because of all of this. And I know that a lot of people would say, I've had a hard time even wanting to vocalize my sadness, because when you have any kind of sadness about something, people tend to be like, well, what about X, Y, and Z? Like, invalidate your sadness because there's other sadness going on. Like people who are supposedly losing loved ones to this illness. They might feel like that's selfish for me to feel sad or for other people to feel sad. But that is what I was telling Dan the other day. I was like, my honest thoughts about masks are that I'm sad about it. I'm sad that it's become such a visual way to butt people against each other. I'm sad for all the new moms during this time period. I mean, I have another friend who, same thing, her baby is about as old as mine, and her baby hasn't met the grandparents yet. And I know people who have lost family members and weren't even able to say bye to them. And so now I'm kind of getting off the tangent of the mask thing. But, at the same time, you guys get it. It's all kind of part of the same thing. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I don't love them. They make me sad. I don't leave my house often, which part of it's okay, because if you've been watching my videos for the last few years, you know that I have literally become obsessed with my home life, right? I love growing things. When my body feels okay, I literally love cooking. I'm obsessed with cooking. I was lying in bed looking at recipes on Pinterest till very late last night. My eyes were drooping shut. So I have fallen in love with home life and the concept of homesteading. So it's okay, but it's also deeply sad to me. So yeah, I'm actually going to stop there because part of me feels like I could go on and on and on, and I'm not actually sure which way to go on and on about. That's part of the I've said this now 3 times. It's part of the problem with these Q&As. It's which way do I go? But that's where I'm going to end that there, and that's honestly the best summary of all of it anyways. So, next question. You tell me you're scared.